Tuesday Night Touchdown Podcast with your hosts, Reese Downing and Jacob Workman.
Welcome to the Tuesday Night Touchdown Podcast, NCAA edition, Week 8 picks episode. Joining as always, co-host on the other side of the world, Reese Downing. Reese, what's going on?
What's going on, brother? How you doing?
Pretty good. Pretty eventful weekend. Had some big games. Obviously, the biggest was Oregon-Ohio State, which had a little interesting ending there. Before we really even get into the recap, I do want to go ahead and just play this clip for you because it's going to describe a little bit as what we're going to talk about.
Much of the commentary world has decided and struck you as a genius, Stan, for the 12-man penalty and declared that it was intentional. Was it indeed intentional to induce the throw one-on-one against Jabbar in that spot?
It wasn't one-on-one. We actually had a safety on top. So there was so it's called dog. It's when you play, but he wasn't in extremely tight coverage, but he was in dog coverage where he had safety on top of him. And there was a timeout before that. We spent an inordinate amount of time on situations. There's some situations that don't show up very often in college football, but this is one that obviously was something that we had worked on. So you could see the result.
So for some context there, 10 seconds left in the game, Oregon called a timeout. They intentionally added a 12th man onto the field, basically just to ensure that Ohio State couldn't have a big gain on the play to not get them in field goal range. The 5-yard penalty wasn't anything crazy. It wasn't going to hurt them really in any way. So ball snap, no real gain, penalty, 5 yards, whatever. But now there's 4 seconds on the clock, and there's 6 seconds left on the clock now, and they basically only have time for one play. So a little bit of it's almost like a Belichick strategy. You would see, like, know the rule book, use the loophole in the rule book, take advantage of it. I think they probably could have got away. I would have probably added one more guy. I think they would have got away with 13 and been okay without getting. So there's a kind of interesting penalty in college football where at the referee's discretion, if they think you're doing anything like too overly intentional, like if they would have put like 30 guys out there, then they can assess them a 15-yard unsportsmanlike penalty. But so 12, I get. I honestly think I would have went with 13 just to be safe. I think they would have got away with 13 also. But just an interesting strategy. And, I mean, we talk about the NCAA quite a bit and how just idiotic they are. If this rule isn't changed by this weekend, we got some problems. Reese, what are your thoughts on it?
Well, first of all, I'm not surprised that you support 13 men on the field because you use that cheat code whenever we play NCAA. Smart play by Lanning. I mean, he didn't make the rules. He just exploited them.
Yep.
I expected the bare minimum. It will be changed next year. It'll probably be changed to a dead ball foul. Maybe they label it the dead duck rule.
Well, so the NFL does that. So the NFL, if you got 12 on the field, they're not letting you snap the ball. And it's for that reason, so that can't be exploited. And why college never adjusted to that. I mean, take advantage of it. Why not? I mean, I think it's brilliant. I mean, there's obviously very few situations you could actually use it for, but I mean, when it's number 2 versus number 3 in your home field, why not? Like, I still just for the sake of it, like I would have put 13 out there just to be sure, but I get what he was trying to do, and I think it was brilliant.
It worked.
It definitely worked. So we've been doing a little comparison here for Ashton Jeanty every week. We've kind of been comparing him to Barry Sanders a lot, just kind of showing like where he's at because he is going for Barry's record. I got a little bit of a switch this week. This week we're going to compare him to one and only Reginald Bush from USC. Through 6 games in 2005, Bush had 1,237 all-purpose yards and 11 total touchdowns. Ashton Jeanty right now has 1,287 all-purpose yards and 18 touchdowns. So we're looking at 50 exact yards more all-purpose and 7 more touchdowns. And if you think back to that year, there was just cream loads going everywhere of Reggie Bush. Like, good God, like this guy is amazing. Look what he's doing. Like they still show when Reggie played Fresno State that year to this day in highlight clips, just the absurd things he was doing. And I mean, Jeanty's doing more. Like I just wish that he was getting more of the national exposure on TV, like more like 8:00 p.m. on Fox games or something like that, which I think here as the season gets later and we're probably approaching the records, I think the TV execs probably will, you would have to think, put him on a little bit more primetime spotlight. And then also, I mean, we're still looking at Boise State as a potential playoff team, which is awesome also. So I just hope that he starts to get a little bit more of the exposure that he deserves.
Yeah, so his 6-game total is just under 1,250 yards. He's at 1,248 right now. Barry, through his first 6 games, was at 1,156. So he is above where Barry was at through 6 games. The problem that he's going to have trying to chase Barry is that Barry averaged 282 yards a game in his final 6 games of the season where he set the record. Jonty's going to have to average 230 a game for the remainder of the season in order to catch that. It's not impossible when we look at what he's been doing.
Yeah, he just has to play full games, really. He hasn't even been playing full games.
That's yeah, exactly. And I think that's going to be the potential issue here is he going to play through all 6 of the next games, or is it going to be a situation, I mean, last game of the year, Boise State goes in a 4-touchdown lead into halftime. Why would you keep him on the field and risk it? I guess at that point, do you put it, I mean, as a coach, do you put it to Jonty to determine whether or not he stays on the field, or do you play it safe with the goal of entering the playoff and keeping your star running back healthy?
Well, I mean, it's true, but I think that the NCAA has changed that now every game you play counts. So the conference championship game and the first round of the playoff, or if it's just a bowl game, are all going to count also. So he is going to have the extra games still that are going to count towards the total. So I think he'll probably still be all right. But yeah, it does get to that point where in game 11 or 12, if it's not a necessary, like, why stay in the game when it's a team goal essentially, and he is that team. So
yeah. And if I'm Jonty, I want to set the record in 12 games. I don't want to have to take extra. If you're really going to go for the record, like, you want to do it in the same game time period that Barry did.
Well, I would guess Barry probably did it in less, I would assume. I don't think they played 12 when he was, I think it was 10 or 11, because I think it just went to 12 just not recently, but within the last like 15 years.
I think they said it was 12, but I could be wrong. I'll take a look.
I say it could be. I'm not 100% positive on that. So speaking of Barry and Oklahoma State head coach Mike Gundy had to change his press conference to a Zoom conference due to being headbutted by his cow. Gundy said, "I had a little run-in with my cattle over the weekend, and I guess they've been watching us play," which is kind of a hilarious quote because Gundy's never been one really to take himself too seriously other than when he was a man and he was 40, but he still even really doesn't take himself too seriously. But when even your cow's pissed off at how shitty your performance has been, I find that awesome.
Yeah, 3 things here. 1, only in the Big 12.
Exactly.
2, this is the most Mike Gundy thing I've ever heard in my life.
Yeah.
And 3, did the cow get calls for targeting? That's my question.
It probably went under review at least. I don't know. Might not have been confirmed.
Bessie got the 15-yard unsportsmanlike.
All right, so just a little betting update here before we get into a few more things. Worst teams against the spread this year. So we've got 3 teams that are 0-6, and one of these teams is 0-6-1 with a push. Kansas, North Carolina, Air Force, and NC State. NC State is the one that's 0-6-1. None of those teams have covered yet this year. This next 2 are surprising. 1-5 against the spread, Arizona and Michigan. Who would have thought that going into the year?
I actually uncovered the 1-5 in Michigan when I was doing my research for this week. Surprising that they're not covering spreads this. I mean, we talked about how they were going to struggle on their offense, but yeah, still surprising.
Also 1-5 against the spread, Middle Tennessee, UTSA, the Roadrunners, which is another pretty decent team. Wyoming 1-5, TCU is 1-5, and Georgia is 1-5 against the spread, which is also another interesting one.
I did find out Barry's game count. The record-setting year, they are including the bowl game that they played in, which is a total of 12 games.
Okay, so it was 11 plus a bowl.
Yes, correct. 11 games plus a bowl. The last game of the regular season, they played Texas Tech in Tokyo, of all places.
Christ.
44 attempts, 332 yards on the ground, 4 touchdowns, and they only won the game by 3.
The Japanese have never seen anything like that before. That was amazing.
Yeah. It was Barry in 1988, and then he had to wait for Shohei. That was
That's crazy. So the best teams against the spread, we got 2 of them. 2 teams 6-0 against the spread. Shout out to Mom Talk. BYU, the Mormons, 6-0 against the spread. And the other one is one of the few undefeated teams left, Army, 6-0 against the spread this year. We've got quite a few teams at 5-1 against the spread here. I'm going to read all them off. So we got Texas, the snake oil salesman, Minnesota 5-1, Arkansas 5-1, Iowa State 5-1, UL Monroe, Pitt, Marshall, IU, Tulane, Arizona State, and the Pisser, Diego Pissing Pavia 5-1. It's a little interesting 5-1 here. Like I wouldn't have guessed Marshall and Pitt. Like there's UL Monroe even. Like there's some surprises on this 5-1 team.
Surprising all across the board there.
Really, yeah. So, with the exception of I guess Texas at 5-1, really, yeah, I would say the rest of them are pretty surprising. Top 25 results from last week. Utah. Oh, first off, let's start with Utah real quick. Cam Rising played. Good Christ, if I ever see him on a field again, Utah fans, send him out. He's done. Don't let him step on that field ever again. That was a disgrace to football, what I just watched from him. Arizona State beat them 27-19, and hopefully the Cam Rising farewell game. I do know that he applied for an 8th year of eligibility next year, and he was granted it. But for Christ's sake, we cannot see him on the field ever again.
But 16 for 37 with 3 picks.
Oh, it was so bad. He couldn't even step. Like his legs were so messed up, he couldn't even step to throw the ball. Like it was actually kind of sad to watch. Texas 34, Oklahoma 3. The Red River shootout was it was a
not much of a
draw.
shootout.
Yeah, it was a quick draw. It was over fast. Ohio State 31, Oregon 32. We just talked a little bit about that game. A great game. Penn State 33, USC 30 in overtime. USC, if it wouldn't have been for Florida later that night, might have had the worst overtime possession in the history of college football. It was the most god awful thing I've ever seen.
Yeah, that was what the hell was Lincoln Riley thinking there? Game tied at 30 with a minute plus left. For some reason, it looked like they were just going to go for that long field goal.
Yep.
Franklin figures it out, calls the timeout. Like
it was bad.
What the hell? And yeah, like the decision from Napier to do what he did in that game was bad
Jesus.
too. But Lincoln Riley, that.
Well, I think so. Lincoln's was kind of in regulation for the most part. Both of their overtime strategies were horrendous, but Florida's was probably the worst overtime performance I've ever seen in my life. But I think Lincoln Riley, I don't. I seriously think they should consider firing him. I'm not big on him, and I think that USC could be a great program again, and I don't think he's the one to get it there. Mississippi State 31, Georgia 41, only a 10-point win. I think that spread was like 36 or something. We talked about it last week. Like, why the hell is this conference game this big of a spread?
Yeah, talk about a confusing team. The Mississippi State keeps losing games, but when they're in big games, Georgia, Texas, they cover spreads. I don't get it.
South Carolina 25, Alabama 27. Jesus, they barely hung on to win that game. Bama really, I thought they were going to lose, to be honest. They were lucky to win that one. Florida 17, Tennessee 23 in overtime. We just talked about that. It was a disgrace in overtime. Ole Miss 26, LSU 29 in overtime. Kind of same thing there. Ole Miss had an interesting overtime strategy, and LSU just got almost an instant touchdown. It was a nice play. Clemson 49, Wake Forest 14, Stanford 7, Notre Dame 49, Iowa State 28, West Virginia 16, Arizona 19, BYU 41, Boise State 28, Hawaii 7, Kansas State 31, Colorado 28, and Missouri beat UMass 45-3. Cal and Pitt had a pretty good game. Cal 15, Pitt 17, and Purdue 49, Illinois 50 in overtimes. We had 4 overtime games in our top 25 matchups there this week.
There's a team in Ball State that got a W. 2 points. Not much, but we got a W. A win's a win right now for the Cardinals.
They should have actually covered that by a lot. I don't understand what the hell they were doing on defense late in the fourth quarter. They gave up 2 huge plays. They had it covered twice, and I was like, yes, we're going to get the cover here. We're going to be good. Nope. Let's just let them throw a 70-yard pass in the pouring fucking rain for no reason.
Yeah.
Ball State's defense is ass. Like, they're bad. They really are bad.
Are they the assiest of ass?
No. They beat Kent State. Kent State will forever hold that title. And I believe they have still yet to hold a lead this season. I don't believe they ever had the lead in that game last week. So, Well, I guess that's it. Let's go to our picks for this week. So we're kicking it off with one of the teams that had one of the biggest games last week, Oregon. Number 2, Oregon is a 27.5-point favorite on the road at Purdue at Ross-Ade Stadium in West Lafayette, Indiana. 58.5 over-under Friday at 8 p.m. on Fox.
Yeah, Oregon with a big win last week over the Buckeyes. This could be a little bit of a letdown game just from a spread perspective, but I'm still going to take the Ducks here to win and cover.
Yeah, I don't think too much of Purdue. So, and now Purdue, this is kind of one of those situations we talk about. A conference game on a Friday night on the road, big favorite.
Yep.
These are the situations we talk about a lot, actually, where not only that, they're just coming off basically winning their national championship. Like, there's a lot of reasons here why you would say we should probably take Purdue. I'm taking Oregon. I think I'm going to regret it, though. This is like that situation I talk about constantly. I don't know why I'm picking Oregon, to be honest, but I'm going to go with Oregon. But this is not going to surprise me if Purdue doesn't make this like a 17-point game and cover.
Yep.
So Friday night, again, we got another big one. And this one I'm really looking forward to. Oklahoma State, after he recovers from his head injury, and Mike Gundy taking the Ollie Gordon, on the road to number 13, BYU. BYU is a 9-point favorite at LaVell Edwards Stadium in Provo, Utah. 52.5 over-under Friday at 10:15 on ESPN.
OK State coming off a bye week, which was needed after 3 straight conference losses. They're averaging over 310 yards a game on the ground in those 3 losses on defense. It's not good. BYU isn't as heavy as a rush team, but they're definitely a complete football team. Very tough out at home, like we've been talking about. Little concerned about the spread here, but I'm going to take the Cougs to win and cover.
Yeah, I don't trust Oklahoma State. We've been through this. The bed's been shit. I think it's done for them. And I love BYU at home. Like I said last week, like we've got to start kind of considering them kind of like Utah at home. And Friday night, 10:15. I mean, I know it's not that late there. The Mountain Dew will be going wild in the crowd, I'm sure. And it's going to be a hell of a night in Mormon land. I'm taking BYU minus the 9. We're going to kick off Saturday with a really good one. Number 6, Miami's going on the road to Louisville. Miami's a 4-point favorite at L&N Federal Credit Union Stadium in Louisville, Kentucky. 61.5 over-under Saturday at noon on ABC.
Yeah, Miami also coming off a bye after back-to-back really close wins that shouldn't have been as close as they were. Louisville is not an easy out at home. I think this would probably be a little bit tougher of a game if this were a nighttime matchup, but I'm going to go with Cam Ward to get the W and cover.
Yeah, this spread I wish was just a little higher. I wish it was like 6, but I'm taking Louisville. I think Louisville's going to win this game. I'm taking Louisville to cover. Virginia is going on the road to number 10, Clemson. Clemson's a 21.5-point favorite at Memorial Stadium in Clemson, South Carolina. 57.5 over-under Saturday at noon on the ACC network.
Yeah, Cavs been protecting the rock this year. Definitely improved over last season, but Clemson's looked really good since that Georgia game. And games in Death Valley, I'll take Clemson to win and cover.
The fake Death Valley. Yeah, I don't trust Virginia yet. I don't think that they're good enough, and I think they're actually going to play a real competition here. So I'm on Clemson also. I just don't think Virginia's played enough to be prepared for what they're about to see. Nebraska is going on the road to number 16, Indiana. Indiana is a 6.5-point favorite at Memorial Stadium in Bloomington, Indiana. 50.5 over-under Saturday at noon on Fox.
This is going to be a really good. This may be the best game of the night, to be honest with you. You've got an IU offense that's averaging 47 points or over 47, 515 yards a game so far this year, and it's against a defense that's top 15 in the country. We may be looking at an upset, but I wouldn't be putting my money down on this either way. I'm going to go light the SIGs, win and cover, IU at home.
Yeah, I like IU at home. But if there's one thing I know about Nebraska is that fan base travels well. And IU is not a raucous home crowd environment. I think I'm not sure Nebraska wins, but I do think they cover this. I think this is going to be a great game. I'm on Nebraska. Auburn is going on the road to number 19, Missouri. Missouri's a 4.5-point favorite at our 3rd consecutive Memorial Stadium in Columbia, Missouri. 51.5 Saturday at noon on ESPN.
Yeah, how are all these games being played at the same time? Auburn's also coming off a bye week. Missouri's offense has not played up to expectations this year. That could pose problems with an Auburn team that's averaging just under 21 a game on defense, but I'll go with Cook, Burden, Noel, and the boys to get the W here. It'll be their first win over Auburn since joining the SEC if it happens, but I will take Mizzou here to win and cover.
Yeah, there's just something about this game. Like, why this line this low concerns me. This is like a Vegas knows something line.
Yeah,
because I'm pretty big on Missouri. If it was under, like, even if it was 6.5, I would still be pretty big on Missouri. And at 7, I would be thinking push at worst. But 4.5, just, man, Vegas knows something here. I don't know what. I'm on Missouri with you, but I'm very skeptical of this line. Next, we are going to West Point. We got East Carolina going on the road to number 23 Army. Army's a 15-point favorite at Michie Stadium in West Point, New York. 51.5 over under Saturday at noon on ESPN2.
Yes, I read this is the first matchup against these two teams in 2 decades. ECU owns the record, 8-0 so far. Problem for them this time around is their defense is giving up over 300 rushing yards a game. They just gave up 55 against Charlotte, and they're going up against a team that leads the FBS in yards per game on the ground. They're also not allowing more than 2 scores a game so far this year. So for all those reasons, I'll take West Point Knights here to win and cover.
Yeah, I think Army's pretty nasty this year, actually. I like them a lot in this one. I like them minus the 15. All right, 3:30. Number 7, Alabama is a 3-point favorite going on the road to number 11, Tennessee at Neyland Stadium in Knoxville, Tennessee. 56.5 over under Saturday at 3:30 on ABC.
Yeah, man, both these teams have looked a little rough the past 2 weeks. I love the matchup. Milroe and Iamaleava should be a fun one. This was the toughest game of the week to pick for me. I'm going to go Rocky Top because they're at home and I'm getting points. So I'll take Tennessee here, plus the 3.
Yeah, I mean, I don't think you could have a matchup where 2 teams looked worse the week before. Like they both were just terrible. I'm highly anticipating this game. This is going to be awesome. I'm actually going to roll with Bama still. I just trust Bama's defense a little more than I trust Tennessee's, but a great game nonetheless. I'm looking forward to it. I'm taking Bama minus 3. Number 12, Notre Dame is an 11-point favorite versus Georgia Tech at Mercedes-Benz Stadium in Atlanta, Georgia. 49.5 over under Saturday at 3:30 on ESPN.
Yeah, another fun matchup. Watching this Irish defense against Georgia Tech's ground game. I think Notre Dame gets the win here, but I don't really care for the spread. Brent Key's 14-6 against the spread when they're the dog. I'm going to take the Yellow Jackets plus the 11.
And Notre Dame just had a key injury. Jesus, his name just escaped me. Benjamin Morris, I believe, is his name. Hip injury, out for the season now. It's a pretty big loss for their defense. I do think the spread is just a little too much in this one also. It's not really – I know the game's in Atlanta, but at Mercedes-Benz, it's big enough. Notre Dame travels well. It'll probably be a 50-50 crowd at best for Georgia Tech. So I do like the crowd situation I like for Notre Dame, but I still think 11's too much. I'm going to take Georgia Tech to cover here. Number 24, Michigan, is a 3-point favorite on the road at number 22, Illinois at Memorial Stadium in Champaign, Illinois. 43.5 over under Saturday at 3:30 on CBS.
Yeah, ahead of last week, I would have gone with Illinois pretty confidently, but their second half performance against Purdue last week makes this game a little tougher to pick. Michigan's coming off the bye week, but they are 1-5 against the spread. We just talked about that. Altmaier's going to get tested against the secondary. I've gone back and forth here, but I'm going to take Illinois here plus the points with them being at home.
Yeah, I'm on Illinois also. I just don't trust Michigan. Like, they cannot throw the ball. And I think Illinois is a team that's a little bit better. If this was in Ann Arbor, I would say maybe I would take Michigan. But on the road in the situation, I like Illinois a lot in this situation. Charlotte, our man Biff Poggi, I think that's his first appearance this year on the show, is going on the road to number 25, Navy. Navy's a 17-point favorite at the Navy Marine Corps Memorial Stadium in Annapolis, Maryland. A little bit of a fancier name this time. 55.5 over under Saturday at 3:30 on the CBS Sports Network.
Yeah, Navy, another team coming off bye to play a Charlotte squad that we just talked about putting 55 up last week. They've got a big matchup with Notre Dame coming up, so hopefully they aren't looking too far ahead, but I am going to take Navy here to win and cover at home.
Yeah, Charlotte last year was a pretty good team. Charlotte this year has not been that great at all. I like Navy a lot in this one. Number 14, Texas A&M is going on the road to Mississippi State. Texas A&M is a 15.5-point favorite at Davis Wade Stadium in Starkville, Mississippi. 56.5 over under Saturday at 4:15 on the SEC Network.
Yeah, we just talked about this as well. Bulldogs are a little bit of a perplexing team to pick against, giving up 30 more a game in their 5 straight losses. But when it's big games like Georgia or Texas, they cover the spread. A&M's coming off a bye, should be an easy win, but I don't know if it's going to be more than 14. So I'm going to take Mississippi State here to cover.
Always going against the Aggies every week.
I'm just
don't
trying
worry,
to
man.
avoid hearing that pass it
don't
back
worry.
Ags.
Don't worry. Guess who you can pass it back to, my friend?
Now let's go ahead and do that yell together. Pass it back, Ags.
Pass it back to me because I'm taking Texas A&M minus 15.5. All right. LSU, number 8. LSU is going on the road to Arkansas. LSU's a 2.5-point favorite at Razorback Stadium in Fayetteville, Arkansas. 55.5 over under Saturday at 7 on ESPN.
Yeah, LSU with the big W last week over Ole Miss. Now they step into Fayetteville with only a 2.5-point spread. Razorbacks are coming off the bye, so they've had a little bit of time to prepare for Nussmeier. Last few games between these two teams have been close, but I'm going to take LSU to win and cover by at least 3.
Yeah, this is another one of those lines you look at it and you're like, what the fuck? Like, this can't be right. But Arkansas always plays LSU very well, especially in Arkansas.
Yeah.
And I just think 2.5 is way too low. Like, I cannot see Arkansas winning this game. That's my problem. I know it's a night game, but that crowd's not, it's not that great. I'm going to take LSU minus the 2.5. This is another one that's really, really an interesting line to me, though. Like, it seems like there's something up there. What realistically is the game of the week, even though we deem Nebraska IU, but this one's pretty good too. Number 5, Georgia is going on the road to number 1, Texas. Texas is a 3.5-point favorite at DKR Texas Memorial Stadium in Austin, Texas. 56.5 over under Saturday at 7:30 on ABC.
Yeah, it's pretty crazy. We've got Bama playing Tennessee, and we have Georgia playing Texas, and we've deemed the IU game as the game of the week.
It is interesting.
Yeah. Texas has looked like one of, if not the most complete team in the country so far this year, regardless of who's under center. Should be a really fun matchup between these two. It's hard to bet against the Bulldogs, especially when you're getting points, but I think the Longhorns are going to try to make a statement here at home. I'm going to take Texas to win and cover.
Yes. Matthew McConaughey is going to be on the sideline doing his arm voodoo he pulls over there on the sideline that I love. I saw a lot from Georgia in their loss. They can be exposed on defense. They're not as good on defense as they were, and this Texas team can take advantage of that. I like Texas a lot in this one.
I'm waiting for the fist fight between Kirby Smart and Matthew McConaughey.
UCF is going on the road to number 9, Iowa State. Iowa State's a 14-point favorite at Jack Trice Stadium in Ames, Iowa. 48.5 over under Saturday at 7:30 on the One for Fun.
Yeah, UCF's offense sucks. Cyclones have covered the last 5. Let's make it 6. I'll take Iowa State here to win and cover at home.
Yeah, UCF is going with a quarterback change. KJ Jefferson is no longer the quarterback, but I do not think it matters. Ames is a very tough place to play, and if you're putting a brand new quarterback in there, that's not a situation I like for you. I like Iowa State. Number 17, Kansas State is a 3-point favorite going on the road to West Virginia at Milan Pusker Stadium, Morgantown, West Virginia. 54.5 over under Saturday at 7:30 on Fox. Before we pick this game, did you hear the brilliant comments from Neil Brown, Reese? About
I don't know. I don't think so.
So he was asked about basically losing and like fans' take on losing. And he basically said, well, aren't you having fun when you come to the game? Like, aren't the tailgates fun? Aren't the games fun? Like he's just there for entertainment, win or lose, regardless. Like this guy.
Is this Nick Sirianni's protege? Is that what's happening here?
So I no, this is worse, actually. I think I've said all season Dave Aranda's the first coach to be fired. After that press conference, my mind has changed. Neil Brown's getting fired. If they lose this game, it might be this week. What an idiotic thing to say. Like, just absolutely stupid. But go ahead with your pick.
Yeah. I mean, this is a little scary for Kansas State just because primetime matchup in Morgantown after K-State escapes last week with a win over a good Colorado team. K-State just needs to stick to the script with the run game. Don't try to reinvent the wheel. It's 7:30 game. As long as they stick to that, it should be a W. So I'm going to go with the Wildcats here to win and cover.
Yeah, so I actually went back and forth on this one for a couple of reasons. One, like how into it are the West Virginia fans going to be because they've lost every big game so far this year? But then there's also what the hell else is there to do in Morgantown, West Virginia? So probably still going to show up. Still should be a big atmosphere. I mean, obviously Neil Brown's asking them if they're having fun, so I'm sure they're having fun. But my other problem with this game is Kansas State was just on the road in Colorado and went to a battle at the very end to barely beat them. And now they're going all the way across the country to play West Virginia. The signs, if it wasn't for that press conference, to me, this would be a lock for West Virginia. But the press conference kind of bumped me down a little bit just in stupidity. But I think I've still got to go West Virginia just because of the situation. Number 21, SMU, is a 15-point favorite going on the road to Stanford at Stanford Stadium in Stanford, California. 53.5 over-under Saturday at 8 on the ACC network.
Yeah, Pony team coming off a bye, ranked, looking really good this year. Battle of a couple ACC newbies. SMU's averaging over 40 a game behind Jennings. Stanford has had a rough few weeks with some big opponents. I just think it's got to be wearing on them a little bit. I'm going to take SMU here to win and cover on the road.
Yeah, I like SMU also. Stanford Stadium, as we've said 100 times, is no home crowd advantage whatsoever. There's maybe 300 people at those games, and it's just not an atmosphere. The team doesn't even look like they care. I think they're going to get smoked. I like SMU in this one. So that wraps up top 25 Muncie 6-pack. We're kicking it off tomorrow night, Wednesday night. Western Kentucky, the Hilltoppers, with some great fucking uniforms they wore last weekend. If you didn't see those, go check them out. Probably the best helmets I've ever seen. Going on the road to Sam Houston. Sam Houston's a 2.5-point favorite at Elliott T. Bauer Stadium in Huntsville, Texas. 55.5 over under tomorrow night, Wednesday at 7 Eastern on ESPN2.
Did they rock the custom Hilltopper guys that are all positioned differently depending on the position?
So they did it a little different this year. They wore all red uniforms with red helmets, and on the red helmets they just had 2 eyeballs, like the Hilltopper eyeballs. They were awesome. Incredible. They're incredible.
Okay. I'll have to check those out. I didn't get a chance to see them. Both these teams have been covering spreads, so that makes this one a little bit tough. But I'm going to go with the better offense here, and that's Sam Houston. So I'll take the Bearcats here to win and cover. Yeah,
I'm the same way. I like them on their home field. I like Sam Houston a lot, but this is going to be a fun game to watch. And 55.5 seems a little low to me. I think this one should be in the 60s. So yeah, I think tomorrow night we're in for a treat. Florida State going on the road to Duke. Duke is a 3-point favorite at Wallace Wade Stadium in Durham, North Carolina. 42.5 over under Friday night at 7 on ESPN2.
Yes, I didn't realize this until I did some research, but Duke has never beaten Florida State. The Noles are 11-0. I think I know where you're going to go with this, but unfortunately, I think that streak's going to come to an end this Friday. I'm going to take the Dukies here to win and cover under Friday Night Lights.
Yeah, I won't be able to live with myself if I see us lose to fucking Duke and Manny Diaz. That'll be one of the worst losses in the history of my life for Florida State. I swear to God, it better not fucking happen. The Willie Taggart era was bad, but it was never lose to Duke bad. So there's already been a man proclaim, and this goes back to a few weeks ago. If you guys saw our shit talk and the man with the burrito in his ass, but there's been a Florida State fan proclaim on Twitter already that if they lose this game, he will eat the shit. He will video it, and we will break this fucking curse because no one else can live like this any longer. So if we lose, we're at least going to have one hell of a video to show next week. But this is this can't happen. We cannot lose to fucking Duke.
I want to flip my pick now just so we don't have to watch that video.
So I obviously am on Florida State to win outright.
Yeah.
Arizona State going on the road to Cincinnati. Cincinnati's speaking of lines that stink, Jesus. Cincinnati's a 2.5-point favorite at Nippert Stadium, Cincinnati, Ohio. 53.5 over under Saturday at noon. Why are we on ESPN Plus for this game? This game is way too good for that.
Yeah,
that plus.
A little surprising to me that it's on the plus. This could be a little bit of a hangover game for the Sun Devils, but since he honestly struggled at times last week against UCF, and they really benefited from some costly penalties that happened on UCF that kept them in the game, I'm going to go with Arizona State here to win and cover on the road.
Yeah, I like Arizona State to win this game outright too. Obviously, there's a few concerning things. This is a noon game, which means it's like a fucking 10 a.m. local for them, and they're traveling across the country. Like there's some things that you don't like about this game, but Cincinnati just hasn't been that impressive still. Like, I think Arizona State is a legit good team. Cincinnati has not proven that to me yet. But obviously, It's not the best situation for Arizona State, but I do like it. I don't know if anyone saw the game when they beat Utah. Kenny Dillingham was getting interviewed, and then the fans had stormed the field at Arizona State, and he basically just disappeared at the end of the interview into the fans and was just going crazy with them. It was awesome. I really like Arizona State this year. I like watching what they're doing and just building for the future. Colorado is going on the road to Arizona. Arizona is a 3.5-point favorite at Arizona Stadium in Tucson, Arizona. 57.5 over under Saturday at 4 on Fox.
This could be a tough game for Colorado. Travis Hunter is a question mark. It looks like Horn's going to be out. So if that happens and they're both out,
I actually think they're both playing. I think it was today stated they will playing? Both. I think they are both playing confirmed. I know that makes things different. That's why I wanted to say it.
Yeah, I appreciate that. That definitely makes things different. If Hunter was going to be out, Fafita and McMillan should have a field day. But if Hunter's playing, if Hunter plays, I'm taking Colorado plus the 3.5.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure today it came out that they were both playing. So I'm actually still going the other way, though. Colorado's defense just hasn't proven to me that they can stop any real offense, and I think Arizona can play offense, obviously. And Colorado's offensive line is still ass, and Arizona can get a little bit of pressure. And I just like them on their home field. There's not going to be any of the nonsense you get at Colorado. Like I like Arizona in this game to cover the 3.5. If I would have known Ball State was playing Pissing Pavia this year, we would have been on the road to Nashville, and we'd be going to this game because this would have been a great one. Ball State is on the road at Vanderbilt. Vanderbilt's a 26-point favorite at First Bank Stadium in Nashville, Tennessee. 58.5 over under Saturday at 7 on ESPN+.
Yeah, unfortunately for my Cardinals, Vandy's 6-1 against the spread in their last 7, and they've won 9 straight against the MAC conference.
And they have Diego Pissing Pavia.
And they have the pisser. Yeah, I'm rooting for my Cards, but I'm going to take Vandy here to win and cover at home.
I saw what Kent State did to Ball State's offense at the end of that game. Diego Pavia is about to have a field day. I'm taking Vanderbilt minus 40. Kentucky is a 1.5-point favorite on the road at Florida at Ben Hill Griffin Stadium in Gainesville, Florida. 42.5 over under Saturday at 7:45 on the SEC Network. And Florida quarterback Graham Mertz is officially out for the season, so we will get DJ Lagway now the rest of the year.
Yeah, I mean, I'm surprised they didn't happen sooner anyway.
Right.
With the way Mertz was playing. Florida has looked better on the back half of their schedule so far. They did on the front half, but they are 3-7 in their last 10 against the spread. I still like them at home getting points against this team, so I'm going to take Florida plus the 1.5.
Yeah, I would have taken Kentucky if Mertz was playing, but now that I know Lagway's playing, I'm on Florida. Florida's offense is so much better with Lagway. I'm taking them plus the 1.5 and probably just to win outright even. UNLV is a 7.5-point favorite going on the road to Oregon State at Resser Stadium in Corvallis, Oregon. 62.5 over under Saturday at 10 on the CW network.
On the C-Dub. UNLV has looked good recently, scoring 41 or more in their last 3. They do need to play better defense. I expect this one to be high scoring. Little concerning that it's nighttime in Corvallis. That can get a little rowdy. But I'm going to go with UNLV here to win and cover.
That is my exact reason for going Oregon State. A late night start, Corvallis. That place is not easy to play. I know they're not the same team they've been the last few years because they lost half their damn team to the portal and their coach and everything else. But this is an environment that I don't think UNLV is going to be quite ready for. And I don't think UNLV is as good as their record is either. Hello, Boise State. Welcome to the playoffs with this loss, I think, because I think this one's going to be huge when it comes to who makes the playoffs. So I like Oregon State in this one. All right, that is going to wrap up our Muncie 6-pack. We will now go to our locks of the week. And Reese, I will let you kick us off. Who do you have?
I am locking in on number 9, Iowa State minus 14 over UCF. Night game at Jack Trice. Talked about it already. Cyclones have covered 5 straight. Let's make it 6.
My lock of the week, hook 'em. Texas minus 3.5 at home over Georgia. Dogs of the week. Who's the dog, Reese?
My dogs, Arizona State at Cincinnati. I like what I've seen from the Sun Devils this year. Rooting for the young gun, Dilly to get a big road win. Let's go Arizona State Sun Devils.
Yep, we were just talking about that game, and I'm with you on that. I think Arizona State's going to win that one outright. I like it a lot. My dog should be obvious if you heard me talk just like 2 minutes ago. This cannot fucking happen. I swear to God, it cannot happen. Florida State is my dog at plus 130. We cannot lose at Duke. Like, oh, Jesus God. It can't happen. All right. Week 8's over. We're approaching the end of this season very quick. This is stupid. It's going so fast. I don't like it. Next week, I might throw out some an updated little playoff bracket just to kind of look at, get a little preview as to where we're at right now and what's kind of looking like is going to form. We're obviously going to have a lot of answers with the Texas game, the IU game, even Army. What was the other one? Jesus. Tennessee, Bama, obviously will be another big one towards the playoffs. So we'll definitely get a little updated bracket next week and kind of talk through what we think could potentially happen the rest of the year. Might even go back and do some of our preseason win total previews and conference championship winners. Since it's already week 9, it'd probably be good to get into that and just see where we're looking at with our picks and how everything's kind of going. Obviously, the ACC is not going anywhere near what we thought it was going to go, but I think for the rest of the conferences, we've been pretty dead on. I know we were both kind of big on Ohio State, and we both thought they were going to beat Oregon. But we also picked them to win the conference, not the regular season game, and I think that game might be a little different. So, but anyway, we'll come back next week with some cool shit that we haven't really been talking about yet this season. Some more recap of our early season picks and kind of a playoff preview. And I don't think a Heisman preview is necessary because I think we're both on the same boat in the Heisman. I don't really think we need to talk much about that. Obviously, the only thing really to talk about the Heisman is when he gets screwed because it's probably inevitable, but
yeah,
hopefully not. I think if there's ever a year, it's got to be this year. Like, there's no quarterback worth a damn that should win it. I don't care what people are saying about Cam Ward. Watch Cam Ward play. Don't look at his stats. He's not that good. He throws interceptions. He makes terrible reads. He's not that good. People that actually watch football and aren't just statistical idiots understand that, but we'll see. That's pretty much it. We'll be back next week with whatever we got, and hopefully not a video of a man eating shit because Florida State lost to Duke. So we can't have that. Like, share, subscribe, and check out all of our NFL episodes. So for Reese Downing, I'm Jacob Workman. See you guys next week.
Cheers, guys.